As a comedian, you have hecklers, right? In live shows, you get hecklers, and at first, when I was young, I would be so hurt, and you realize what the subtext of all these heckles are, which is, I exist, right? And that's like times 1,000 on the internet. People just writing things to try to prove they exist, and they're shocked if you see it.
That's true. I have poked my head in, and someone has said something really mean about me. And then I've responded and been like, hey, sorry you felt that way. I'll keep at it, like smiley face or something like that. And then it completely diffuses their reaction.
If you can change that energy to, which is what you did, you respond and you go, oh, sorry you feel that way, and then that person felt seen. It's science, energy. It can't be, created nor destroyed, but it can change. It can convert from negative. Someone flips you off on the street, it's like, you take it on and it's catchy, So if you can just really consciously, what am I, Marianne Williamson? I love her, I'm just kidding. But I sometimes I hear myself talk and I go, aren't you a comic?
Welcome back to Yang Speaks. This is your co-host, Zach Grauman. I hope everyone's having a great week. Excited to talk to you all. I hope we're staying sane and safe. Only losing our mind mildly in COVID. I know I'm only slightly losing my mind, so I hope you guys are okay. A couple things. We have news today. Before we get into the episode, very, very exciting. I want to do three things before we dive into the episode. We've got updates for you on Yang's COVID situation. I've got some big news for the future of this podcast. And then we've got Sarah Silverman on the podcast, which is very exciting. So great episode today and going forward. So let's start with some updates on Andrew. Andrew is feeling better, but he does have the cocoa. He does have COVID. So we've been joking, like we talk a lot, and he was like, I'm frustrated because I'm 2% better every day, but 2% is not enough to feel good about a speedy recovery. So he's getting there. It's slow. It's funny because he's so go. And so in the morning, he's like calling me. He's all excited about, here's what I'm going to do today. We're great. I'm going to be back. And by like 3:00, he's like wheezing a bit. So it's frustrating to see him like that, to be honest with you, because he's usually so, frankly, kind of invincible. And so it's like watching your hero recover, and that's hard. And I feel for him and his family. But he is getting better, and that's exciting. We're going to try and get him out in person and like fully recovered as by the end of this weekend, hopefully. Like the timing has gotten there. So he's on his way very, very soon to recovery and should be back at full strength on this podcast, hopefully in a week. But just wanted to let you guys know, thank you for many of you, thousands of you who've sent thoughts and prayers and get well cards. I try to like as many as I could on Twitter, but thank you. And on Instagram. So that's our Andrew Yang COVID update. Now, I want to transition to some news, which is very exciting. So a couple weeks ago, given some political activity in the Andrew Yang atmosphere, universe, if you will, we decided to go to just one episode a week on this podcast. And a lot of you were still craving more content, and I wanted to change that a bit. So we're going to try something new. So we've been doing just Mondays. So I have an announcement. This is our news today. We're going to go back to Mondays and Thursdays for the next 12 weeks. We are going to start a new limited series starting this Thursday. So new limited series this Thursday, and it's called The Future Of. And it's going to be hosted by yours truly. And we're going to dive into the topics that all of you have been clamoring for weeks and months, for basically a year since we started this thing. The goal will be long-form conversations on the topics that are going to impact our future the most. And to not only do a deep dive on like what they are, but also how they impact our humanity, how they impact our policy. Very much in the Andrew Yang vein, which is not just that automation's happening, but because of automation, we need to rewrite the rules of our economy, and we need it to help people. Like, how does this hit our humanity? So it's not always going to be famous people. But it's going to be people who have a depth of knowledge that we can learn from. And I want to learn. And I hope you guys will go with me on this journey to kind of talk about our future and understand it better. So I've got a whole bunch of awesome guests lined up, basically through the Yang and the Yang Gang network, that are really exciting. So we're going to do episodes on the future of buying, like what is going on in e-commerce and how is Amazon and Facebook changing the way we market and buy and sell goods. We want to do an episode with a number of energy experts on the future of energy. Like how, when we say the planet is melting, what does that mean? And what do we need to do to prevent that over the next 10, 20, 30 years? How do we get there? I want to do an episode on the future of money and break down cryptocurrency and things like that. Future of philanthropy, I think, will be fun. Like, how's the nonprofit space going to help solve some of these social ills? Can they? And what does that look like? The future of sports. I want to dive into esports. I think this is one of the most unknown topics in the entire world, and it is massive. More people watched a certain video game championship than they watched the college football playoffs. Like, and no one's talking about it. I want to dive in, guys, on the issues that are going to impact our future, and I hope you all will join me. I'm going to co-host it with Carly Riley as much as she can, because I think she makes all of us smarter and is better at this than most of us. So I think she'll be joining, if those of you who have done the affinity for her on this podcast as well. We'll have recurring guests and things like that. It's going to be awesome. Now, here's the deal. We're going to give this a shot, 12 weeks. Give it a listen. You don't like it, just tune in on Mondays. But if you do like it, and hopefully I'm going to put as much effort as we can to make this worth your time, I think we're all going to learn something. And we're going to get what we all crave, which is discussing the things, the policy effects, the humanity effects that all impact our future. So give it a shot. Starts this Thursday, the future of. You all are going to like it, I believe, and we'd love your feedback. Let's make it better as we go. This is iterative, so comment, be nice, humanity first. Jeez, don't kill me, come on now. But it's going to be fun. So the future of, here's Thursday. Y'all are going to love it. I'm going to love it. It's very exciting. I've already recorded a couple episodes. We're feeling pretty good. Now, with that news, it's time to introduce our guest speaker, the one and only Sarah Silverman. Sarah is, I think she's in the news for a whole bunch of things all the time. It's kind of a wild card in that way. So, and the episode is kind of that way too, where they talk about everything from COVID to having fame to dealing with the haters online and in person. And they also talk about politics and positions and how we can start getting along. It's a fascinating episode from a fascinating human being. I love when these just remarkable, like whether you like love her comedy or not, she's definitely an interesting, unique human on the planet. And getting people like that on Yang Speaks is always interesting, and hearing Yang's perspective and conversation with them is always great. So you've got Sarah Silverman today. We've got the future of starting Thursday. I'm excited for this new journey. So tune in now. Sarah Silverman. I want to talk to you all about your most valuable asset, and that is time. We always are running out of it. We never can have enough of it. So that's why we have partnered with Stamps.com, because what they do better than most things, particularly when you're mailing stuff, is save you time. So Stamps.com brings the service of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS right to your computer. So you can get your stamps, print them online, and save a trip to the post office, because that is, by definition, a hassle. So save your time. You can use this 24/7 and get your stamps at Stamps.com from anywhere in the world. So here's what I want you to do. Stop wasting time, go in the post office, and go to Stamps.com instead. There's no risk, and with our promo code YANG, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. So go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, type in YANG. That's Stamps.com, promo code YANG. Stamps.com, never go to the post office again.
I am so thrilled to welcome to Yang Speak someone I've admired for years, someone who has done the impossible, which is make it as like a sane, wise human being in show business. Sarah Silverman, welcome, Sarah.
Hello. What's up, Andrew?
Not a whole lot. I'm trapped in my kid's room because I'm in the last days of a COVID quarantine. I don't know if you saw that I tested positive a little while ago, but I'm on the mend. I don't know if you can tell. Like, I feel like a cloud is lifting from my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see now. Yeah. You look mildly sickly still.
And yet mildly healthy too.
And yeah, mildly healthy. That's more the glass half full.
How about you? Are you in California right now, or are you here in New York?
I'm in California.
I had that sense. How is it out there?
It seems great because I don't go anywhere, but I'm terrified. I just, kind of don't want to do anything until I can get a vaccine, and that won't be for a long time. So I don't know. When do you think people a regular person can get a vaccine that's not over 65?
Non-high risk people. I'm told
Yeah.
by America's uncle, Dr. Fauci, that apparently April, the vaccines are going to be going out in full force, and normal humans may be able to
Really?
expect them. Yeah, that's what the man said.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So, Sarah, you and I have something in common that you would probably not know. And it's that we spent our formative years in New Hampshire, because I went to high school there.
Where'd you go?
I went to
Exeter or something? Or?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I always dreamed we play, like our sports team would play, not Exeter, but we'd play like St. Paul's.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing their campus and just being like, oh my, I would love this, but I couldn't go because I was a chronic bedwetter.
I'm sure they would have taken you anyway.
I had to go to sleepaway camp as it was, and it was humiliating. I didn't want to go to sleepaway school, but I always thought, man, I would have loved that.
One of the things I was curious about is growing up in New Hampshire the way you did you internalize politics to a higher degree than you think most Americans? Because you wound up obviously being like one of the most prominent political voices among comedians.
Probably, yeah, because we always worked on campaigns, and because as you know, all the politicians come through Manchester first, and back then I remember. Well, let's see, like we worked on in 7th grade, we worked on the Jesse Jackson, and I remember I had this 7th grade teacher, and I still hold this it was so uncool. After that, remember Jesse Jackson called New York Hymietown or whatever, and it was
I remember this. Yes, I do.
And my English teacher was like, well, my family is working for the Jesse Jackson campaign, but Sarah, your family probably doesn't like him. And I'm just like, actually, we're working on that campaign too. And if you thought he was anti-Semitic, why would you be working on it? It's just, even in 7th grade, I was just like, why would you point me out like that? I'm like the only Jew I know in this town. I was listening to your interview with Birbiglia, and that was really fun to listen to. And it's just, just being a comic, it was just interesting to hear, anytime we're political on social media or something, people will go like, you coastal elites or whatever. And it's like, I'm from New Hampshire. I've been in every state in this country by car, pretty much, or like train or, I've been at more Southwest gates than probably anyone except for maybe you or like politicians.
Comedians, I think, have me beat in terms of Southwest gates.
It's like you're famous, but you're not rich, so it's like you're just sitting at the gate at Southwest. And I remember one time I was sobbing in maybe it was San Antonio or Santa Fe in this airport. And I had just gotten, whatever happened, I was just like by myself sobbing. I had like a soaking wet tissue, and people came up and asked for pictures, and I was just like, no hug, nothing, just like something for their Facebook page. It was just so sad. But it is funny. It's like when people say coastal elites or all this stuff, and I just go like, I've been everywhere, and I'll tell you, the first time I ever heard of oat milk was when I was in Alabama, And the best vegan restaurants I've ever been to is in Kansas City. So I don't know what this I don't know. It's very odd.
You know, me and Mike owe you an apology, Sarah, because I think we were listing comedians who we think could run for office successfully, and somehow your name didn't come up, even though you were like the obvious one.
No, I'm not. Way too many. Well, I guess it's not skeletons in your closet if your closet's like open for people to see. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's for me. But I was like, oh, what are they gonna say? And that was a good list. Chappelle would win. You know who wasn't mentioned? And Chappelle is the one who said to me during the last election, he's like, we've got to get Jon Stewart to run.
Oh, that's
because
great.
he would win. He would win and he would be great.
This episode of Yang Speaks is brought to you by Public Goods, the one-stop shop for sustainable, high-quality, everyday essentials made from clean ingredients at an affordable price. It's everything from coffee to toilet paper to shampoo to pet food. Public Goods is your new everything store. Rather than buying from a bunch of single-product brands, Public Goods members can buy all of their premium essentials essentially in one place with a beautiful, streamlined aesthetic. And what they do is they search the globe to find clean, healthy, eco-friendly, innovative products. So I am right now all about the hand soap. It smells beautiful. It's like orangey, cinnamony. When you have a good hand soap, it's like that nice feeling. And you know it's coming from a good place. So I am a big fan. We've worked out an exclusive deal just for Yang Speaks podcast listeners. You're going to get $15, $15 off your first Public Goods order with zero minimum, no minimum purchase at all. So that's right. They're so confident, and we are too, that you're going to love their products and come back again and again. They're giving you, Public Goods literally just giving you $15 spend on your first purchase. You have nothing to lose at all. So go to publicgoods.com/yang. Use the code YANG at checkout. So that is publicgoods.com/yang. Get $15 off your first order at Public Goods. Check it out.
So one reason I appreciate you, there are a number of reasons I appreciate you, Sarah, and admire you. But one is that you spent probably the equivalent of years spending time in different communities around America trying to unpack people's experiences. And then you responded trying to unify through kindness and understanding, which is really such the opposite of the customary approach that people seem to have, particularly in like the kind of cycles of social media and the rest of it. I just saw it as such an uplifting quest on your part, and the fact that you could actually do that in like a major platform and the way that you did, I thought was very, very singular. Like I thought to myself, I was like, is there anyone else who could pull this off at this level? And I could not think of a soul except for you.
Yang, thank you. I mean, it was definitely, I wanted to challenge myself to say, like, I really want to, try to do comedy that has heart, that is still hard comedy, like still, and I also think we're all connected, and I don't think we're as different as we feel because we're being separated by misinformation. I also feel like it isn't progress. Like if I consider myself progressive, progress is to change. So like I'm wrong a lot and I love changing. I don't feel, it's exciting to me, when I go, ooh, nope, I've got to say, remember the new words, the new pronouns, the new whatever, like I even see my boyfriend going like, yeah, I met with this woman today, and it's those little things, just seeing that there's an awareness in his head clicking off, from just what is so ingrained in us I find that stuff exciting, But there is that thing online, and it so often comes from the left of just wanting to draw a line in the sand and point to you as wrong and get to point to me as right. We get so excited to be right and point to someone who's wrong. And I know I participated in it as well, but I try to remember to do we want people to be changed, or do we just want to be able to point to them as wrong and ourselves as right? Like it's just like, well, remember, 4 years ago this person said this, but Neil Brennan has the best joke about this. His analogy is like somebody going up to LeBron James and going, "We have a picture of you when you're 14 and you're only 5'2". And he's like, "Well, but I grew." "Yeah, but is this true? Is this your picture? Are you 5'2"?
LeBron was never 5'2". Blasphemy, not kidding.
I know, I should have said 5'9" or something.
You took the harder approach. I think that's part of why I appreciated and admired it so much. You tried to build bridges of understanding with people who had, a different worldview or a different political sense. And I think we really needed that. We still need it. Like that there's still such like a divide, and it is getting worse, not better, for a variety of reasons. And I see you as one of like the few people that tried to tackle it in a meaningful, personal way that actually invested, years of your life in it. It's something that I feel like I can relate to because like I undertook a similar mission in a political realm, and no, to the extent that like I made a contribution, I'm really proud. But I feel like you've been doing the same kind of work for years. And when I look at folks who are trying to do it, like there aren't that many. like it's not like a huge legion of folks who actually are trying to understand people who have completely differing politics or worldviews.
Yeah, and it takes so little to connect. I mean, you went from town to town and you talk to people and you connect. I always say like, when friends go, I can't even talk to this part of my family. They're, these Trump, Q, whatever, crazy conspiracy. And I go, do they watch Walking Dead? I don't know, like it, there's always something. And once you connect, they're more open. We're more open. Well, we're all more open, and we're primed for change, but to just be like, I do notice on the right, like the thing that they're most closed about is like feeling judged,
Have you read Jonathan Haidt's work? I feel like you would love it if you haven't.
No.
He wrote a book called The Righteous Mind that talks about the way that conservatives and liberals have different moral palettes. And I think you would love it, where he talks about how there are 6 universal values. Let's see if I can get this right. It's caring, fairness, liberty, loyalty, authority, and sanctity. And progressives naturally skew towards caring and fairness, and conservatives naturally skew towards loyalty, authority, and sanctity. And then we construct liberty in different ways, either personally or societally.
But look at loyalty and authority. They're so connected to fear.
Oh, yeah. Conservatism corresponds to things like threat sensitivity and disgust reflex, where like if you generally are like, turned off by disgusting scenes or like different types of even food, you're more likely to be conservative.
Really?
Yeah. And appetite for novelty corresponds to liberalism, where if you just like new stuff, you're more likely to be politically liberal.
I read a study that when you're in a state of fear, no matter who you are, you make more conservative choices. And that's why the right uses fear, the caravan's coming or whatever they need to create to make their followers malleable instead of be curious, question things, be interested, fight that human fear against the unknown,
And it is true that works on liberals too, where we give more conservative responses after you scare us.
100%.
It's a pretty universal impulse. We also apparently get a bit more conservative as we age.
Yeah. And we have to try to fight that, though. Because you get set in your ways, and set in your ways means conservative.
Yeah, I looked at myself. It's like, I feel like that hasn't really happened to me as yet, but who knows, man, we're still young.
I mean, it happens to me in that, like, all I want to do at night is, like, watch a Columbo and go to sleep. Yeah, I've become, like, old in that way. But when I hear, like, comics go, oh, we have to learn all these new words, or I can't use this word, or I have to be sensitive to this topic, I can't say anything. I go, well, that's what old people are like. You know what I mean? Like, you can't embrace new things. You can't think of new words. You can't think of something else to say than, like, I've used this example a lot, but I used to defend saying gay. Oh, that's so gay. Because I go, oh, I'm from the Boston area. I have gay friends. It's not, and then one day I just heard myself and I was like, well, what, I'm the guy who goes, what? I say colored. I have colored friends. Like, I'm him.
And you're like, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah, surely I have other words. My job is words. I can think of other things in 2 seconds. And then, yeah, it's so odd, that instinct to want to stay the same.
You know that credit card, the one that you're looking at and you're always afraid, like, oh God, don't tell me what my credit card balance is, like that, and you're avoiding your debt. Upstart is something that can help you pay that off, get you better interest rates, and help you get out of credit card debt. And last year, if you know anything about 2020, you never know what life's gonna throw at you. You never know when you need credit cards. It's time to take control with Upstart so you know exactly what to expect. And if you have multiple credit cards, you can use Upstart to start consolidating them. And they make things simple with one monthly payment in one place. So Upstart is the fast and easy way to get a personal loan to pay off your debt all online. Literally 500,000 people have done this. They've used Upstart to get simple, fixed monthly payments. And you can too. So find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/yang. That's upstart.com/yang. Don't forget to use our URL and let them know that Yang Speaks sent you. Loan amounts can be determined based on your credit, income, certain other information provided in your loan application. So go to upstart.com/yang.
Jonathan Haidt's research really opened my mind in a different way. And when I traveled the country, like I had an experience that did verify a lot of what you just said, which is like, if you actually talk about the things that people want for themselves, their families, the things they enjoy, like we have more in common than not. It's just that right now there are massive forces that actually, unfortunately, make more money pitting us against each other.
That's what it is. Clicks.
Yeah, a lot of it's clicks. Some of it's cable news and cable news ratings.
Yeah. If you have a 24-hour news channel, that's not news. They have to fill content. And they need to keep you to, through the commercial to come on the other side. That's entertainment. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, obviously Fox News, but, MSNBC, anything that's 24 hours is going to have bait.
I remember the first time I was on one of those cable news channels, and it felt like such an achievement. I was in my 20s. But then when you get a bit older, you realize that they have a lot of programming time to fill.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe my 3-minute segment wasn't like the important thing I thought it was.
It is to the people who watch it, but it is true. It's like, when you're making a show or you're doing an appearance, for a long time you think it's the whole world will see, or it's like on everyone's minds. Like I would have friends, who are in show business or whatever, and there would be something online about them and they'd be so distraught and just think everyone's, well, I'm sure you saw that, blah, blah, blah. And I would say,
I know.
let me,
No, I really didn't.
Let me do you a favor. Nobody's Googling you but you. And certainly no one's sorting it by date. You know what I mean? Like, people are just living their lives.
Well, you certainly developed that sense because you've been a public figure for so long, I developed that sense pretty quickly on the campaign, where it was fascinating, Sarah, because there was a long time when there wasn't much upside in taking shots at Andrew Yang, because like I was just like the scrappy underdog trying to get any kind of attention. And then, when there was some negativity, it was an adjustment. But then I actually wrote something on my phone similar to what you just said, which is, in my case, my note was, just remember that to everyone, you're just the magical Asian man who wants to give everyone money.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, sometimes someone will reach out, a friend or something, and go like, I don't know how you deal with all the negativity towards you online. And I go, there is, because like for survival, I just don't look at most of it, and I just can't imagine like looking at every single, as a comedian, you have hecklers, right? In live shows, you get hecklers. And at first when I was young, I would be so hurt or and you realize what the subtext of all these heckles are, which is, I exist, right? And that's like times 1,000 on the internet, people just writing things to try to prove they exist, and they're shocked if you see it,
That's true. I have poked my head in, and someone has said something really mean about me. And then I've responded and been like, hey, sorry you felt that way. I'll keep at it, like smiley face or something like that. And then it completely diffuses their reaction. They're just like, never thought you would saw this. Thank you for responding. It's like they just wanted to be seen or heard.
It's very interesting because, I think people just think they're shouting into a void, and just like energy's so catchy, so someone feels bad and they want to make you feel, we all feel this, like that knee-jerk reaction when you feel bad is you want to make someone else feel that. Maybe so you're not alone with it. I don't know what the reason is, but if you can change that energy to, which is what you did, you respond and you go, oh, sorry you feel that way, and then that person felt seen, and it changed their energy to like, wow, thanks, and it's just interesting, and it's science. I know it sounds like, hey, I'm out in LA now and not in New York, and I'm like all hippy dippy, but it's science, energy. It can't be, created nor destroyed, but it can change. It can convert from negative. Someone flips you off on the street, it's like, you take it on and it's catchy, So if you can just really consciously, what am I, Marianne Williamson? I love her. I'm just kidding. But I sometimes I hear myself talk and I go, aren't you a comic? But it is true. I'm into science and it's real,
I'm into the transformation of energy too, Sarah.
This episode of Yang Speaks is brought to you by Liquid IV. The reality is this energy multiplier is a game changer. So I take this stuff pretty frequently. Sometimes I take it when I'm a little hungover, to be honest with you. Sometimes I take it just in the morning, give me a little pick-me-up. It's got a little caffeine in it, but it's got energy. It's got 3 times the amount of hydration you get from a glass of water. It is a very quick and easy, open the packet, dump it in water, mix it up, and drink it way to improve your energy in the morning, or frankly, at any time. Half of Americans right now say they struggle with daily fatigue. I bet that number's higher. I am one of those. This is an awesome way to do it. And plus, frankly, the taste on this thing is exceptional. I have an apple pie one that I love. I love the lemon lime. There's a whole bunch you can get. You can grab your Energy Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com. Use the code YANG at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you use the promo code YANG, Y-A-N-G, at liquidiv.com. So start fueling your adventures today. Get that fatigue gone. Get the energy up. Liquidiv.com, promo code YANG.
When I came up as a presidential candidate, I went on cable news programs and nothing would happen. Like there would be no website traffic surge. There would be no boost in email signups. There would be certainly no donations. It would be like the cable news appearance was like a pebble in the pond, and like nothing really would result. But the opposite was true with podcasts. When I would sit down with someone and have an hour-long conversation, then we would see noticeable surges in email signups, donations, like social media engagement. And so, not being a total idiot, I was like with my team, and I was like, just book me on any podcast that has any kind of significant audience, because this is actually working. Like people will spend a bit of time with you, engage with what you're saying. And so I know you now have your own very, very successful podcast that launched relatively recently. Like, how have you found the experience thus far?
It's kind of been like a revelation for me because, you know, everyone had podcasts, and I just felt like, I don't know, everyone else is doing it, and I've got stand-up. And then suddenly one day I didn't have stand-up. I mean, you know, this is the longest I've gone without doing stand-up since I was 18, you know. And it's really odd, and I had no place to, like, put this. And so I go, all right, now I'm going to do a podcast. And then it's just really, I feel like I've really taken to the medium. Like I don't know what the other side of it is, but for me, I'm really enjoying it. I digress like crazy. I find it interesting that the brain goes from, you know, I learned, see, watch, I'm going to digress on top of digression on top of a digression. But, you know, I learned early on in stand-up that you don't need segues. You know, I used to go, and speaking of mattresses, I bought a pillow, and, you know, or whatever. Like everything had to connect in a verbally, you know. And then I realized, like, in real life, the brain goes from one thought to the next to the next. You know, it was actually what made me realize it was I was home with my mom years ago and my sisters, and we were watching TV, and a commercial for pumpkin pie filling came on, and it showed like, well, the regular pumpkin pie filling looks like this, and it's like the shape of the can, and then Mrs. Smith's pumpkin pie filling like comes out like all in a mess and everything, like that's real pumpkin pie. And my mother started crying, and we were like, what's wrong? And she goes, the pumpkin pie filling looked like baby diarrhea, and then I just thought, like, you girls are all grown, and I'm not gonna, and I just thought, oh my God, the human brain, you know? But it just showed me that it's natural to go from one thought to the next, to just pause, just take a moment and let your mind go to the next thing, and that's your segue, you know? And with this podcast, it's so loose, it's so messy, and I go from so many thoughts, you know, like I'll get a question from a voicemail, and I'll start answering it, and then I'll go so far away from the topic that I go, what are we talking about? Oh yeah, being vegan, you know, but I was like talking about 1,000 other things. And I like that that's okay, and it's very different than stand-up for me. With stand-up, my stand-up may feel, sometimes it is messy and loose, but it's, ultimately I'm a very slow honer, and I'm meticulous with my jokes, even though it doesn't seem that way. You know, it's kind of designed to feel very off the cuff, but over a few years, I'll like really work on every little word and stuff. And with this, it's so immediate, you can't. And I like that. You know, I'll listen back sometimes and go, oh, I could have said that so much clearer, so much more concise, and that's frustrating. But the fact that you have to just let it go, you know, you record it, you put it out, and it's extra scary in these times, but I love it. It makes me, it's very
liberating?
Yeah. Thank you. It feels very liberating.
You certainly deserve to be liberated, in the sense that you've had this incredibly fertile creative mind, and just letting it wander I feel like would bring a lot of joy to a lot of people who get to actually interact with you in that way.
Yeah, let me waste your time while you're like doing the dishes. I get so much done when I'm listening to podcasts, and then I like have listened to a podcast. It's nice.
It is nice feeling like I can accompany someone doing whatever it is they're doing. I love podcasting for similar reasons, but I also love it because I get to connect with, again, folks like you that I've admired for a long time. One thing that I think hit a lot of people's radar was when you endorsed Bernie in 2016 and 2020. I was a burner in 2016. It's like I still considered myself very like Bernie aligned this past cycle. He and I got along well on the trail. I gotta say, Sarah, one of like the proudest times on the trail for me was when Bernie expressed affection for me. It was like I felt like I'd been knighted.
He's so special. I love him so much. I love him so much. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of overlap in the Venn diagram of you and Bernie, I think.
I always thought so. I'll say, I mean, I don't know how much people know about this stuff, but I was very, very eager for him, or really any of the other candidates, to express support for universal basic income, like at various points of the trail. And then, the timing worked out that everyone embraced it really, essentially like after I dropped out and the rest of it because of circumstances.
I mean, if the pandemic proves anything, it's how much it behooves us to have a universal basic income and healthcare for everyone.
And healthcare for everybody.
And what that creates, like you go, well, who, they always say it's like, you say who's going to pay for it. Like Bernie says, like everyone says who's going to pay for it when it's for social programs, but it's for like the military or all these other things. Nobody asks.
Plus, we're already paying for it in ways big and small. I mean, like
yes.
there's so much value that's getting chewed up by the lack of healthcare. There's so much job lock. There's so much excess expense that's going into the system right now that's just not making a lot of people stronger and healthier. So, like the arguments against both universal basic income and universal healthcare really have gone out the window with this pandemic, because like now everyone looks up and is like, okay, when push came to shove, it turns out we could write $2.2 trillion like relief bill, like if we wanted to, which we did.
Yes, and it doesn't go out the window. You're giving people money, and that money is to spend. And that feeds the economy.
Ends up making us all stronger, healthier, and the rest of it.
Yeah, if the government is responsible for your health and well-being, they're also going to it will also behoove them to make sure fresh, healthy foods are accessible to everyone and not some elitist thing. Like that's when I was asked about being vegan. It's like, I hate that. I always, it bothers me when just living a healthy life is something that is not accessible to everyone. Or like I said, I went to Pixar before I did Wreck-It Ralph, the movie Wreck-It Ralph. They sent us to Pixar, and it's like, it's the most beautiful place in the world. Just rolling hills of grass. Everyone's got a bike just there for them, a gym. The work plan of the is like open and most conducive for learning, creativity, and work. And all I could think was, why isn't this our schools? Why aren't our public schools like this? It just makes
if you go to a major tech campus, you get the same thing where you're like, what is going on? There's so much. You know what the word is, Sarah? It's the word I was using on the trail a lot. The word is abundance. It's like such an atmosphere of abundance.
There's no reason why this shouldn't be. How can you pass by a public school in half of this country and they look like prisons? There's like bars on the walls. It's
most of the country is operating in an environment of scarcity, and then when you hit an environment of abundance like Pixar or Apple or Google or any of these places, you're just like, holy cow! Like people here can eat healthily so easily, they can exercise so easily, they can like get some kind of relaxation resource so easily, like all the stuff that a lot of Americans feel like they don't have the money for, the time for, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, you mentioned earlier, you made a joke about bedwetting as a kid. I know you had a major show that was scheduled to be produced, but then COVID hit. Aside from your podcast, I think that show is still in the works. Do you have other
Yeah.
major projects that you're working on?
Yeah, I had two big ones coming up that are moved exactly a year forward, which, you go, ugh, but I'm so grateful because in another year we'll be in such a better place. And also, it's always nice when you have work in a year, like when when you're living like gigs, like I feel like I do odd jobs. It's so great knowing there's like a couple solid things coming up. But yeah, the musical, right, is called The Bedwetter, and it was supposed to start last May, and rehearsals were starting in March, and I flew to New York for the 3 months, and it immediately everything was canceled, and actually lost our partner. It was myself and Josh Harmon co-wrote
Fountains
the
of Wayne. I was a fan of his, not just from Fountains of Wayne, but from that movie he did, Music and Lyrics, with Drew Barrymore and Hugh Grant. I thought that was so well done.
Yeah, we've been friends for a long time and been working on this for 8 years, and then,
So terrible.
Yeah.
He wasn't,
So that was crazy. He was born on Halloween and he died on April Fool's Day. Seems apropos if you know him, but just so upsetting. But anyway, that's pushed to 2022, and then a movie I'm doing is pushed to 2022. But
so there'll be a show. It's called The Bedwetter, and it's going to be out in 2022.
Yeah, it's at the Atlantic Theater in New York.
Something for us all to look forward to.
Yeah, it's about the year I'm 10.
Plus, it has incredible music from someone who, like, this may be one of his last major works or contributions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He had worked with Rachel Bloom on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend for
Also
a few
great
years.
show.
And, yeah.
Well, I'm super excited that we're going to get to see so much of your work coming up, Sarah. And your podcast is awesome. You're awesome. Thank you for being such a voice for humanity, for someone who brings people together. Keep on transforming that energy. We all need it.
Likewise. And it's so fun talking to you. I feel like I know you.
I've been a fan of yours for years, so this has been a real joy for me.
Yeah. New Hampshire buddies.
Yeah, you were the cool kid. I was like
I was not the cool kid. I was peripheral. I bet you were too. I was like, got along with everyone. I was peripheral.
I was like the brooding 90s, like, kind of wannabe grunge skater.
Did you have many black rubber band bracelets?
I had something like the equivalent. I had this like leather choker. I wore a gray overcoat. It was.
Oh my God! You're Lloyd Dobler.
I was like Lloyd Dobler-esque, I would say. I'll send you a pic. I'll DM it to you, and then you can judge for yourself.
Please.